The lights in the Smithsonian National Museum of American Innovation burn, with the kind of brilliance reserved for moments that change history. Camera flashes pop like distant stars. 300 people stand in pressed suits and designer dresses, champagne glasses catching the amber glow of carefully positioned spotlights. At the center of it all sits a truck, not just any truck. A 1987 Ford F-150, paint faded to the color of old denim rust spreading across the hood like continental drift. The passenger door hasn't closed right in 15 years. The bed is covered with a weathered tarp that's seen more miles than most people's dreams. It looks like it belongs in a junkyard. Instead, it sits on a marble pedestal under museum glass surrounded by velvet ropes and a bronze plaque that reads Maya J. Brooks Fusion Reactor. First Self-Sustaining Clean Energy System 1999-2025. Isaiah Brooks stands 6 feet from the glass, hands clasped behind his back, 57 years old, gray threading through his close-cropped hair. A simple gold band on his left hand polished smooth by 3 decades of wear, never removed even after 20 years of widowhood. He's wearing a simple dark suit, no tie, no medals, no attempt to look like anything other than what he is, a man who worked with his hands, who raised a daughter alone, who spent 2 decades being invisible. Mr. Brooks, the reporter is young, enthusiastic, doesn't understand yet that some victories taste like ashes. How does it feel to finally be recognized? Isaiah looks at the truck. Through the museum glass, he can see the passenger seat, the cracked leather, the faded dashboard, the spot where Maya's hand rested during the drive home from her last chemotherapy appointment, her fingers too weak to hold his, but trying anyway. My wife died believing powerful people had buried her life's work. His voice carries the kind of quiet authority that makes people lean forward to hear better. Took me 20 years to prove them wrong. The reporter waits for more. There isn't more. Isaiah's eyes never leave the truck. The camera zooms in, closer, closer, until all we see is Isaiah's reflection in the museum glass, superimposed over the rusted metal of a revolution that started in a garage and nearly died in a corporate boardroom. Freeze frame. Text appears on screen 36 months earlier. Detroit. The city wakes before the sun has for 100 years. Factory workers and janitors and security guards who know that dawn is something other people enjoy. The sky over Apex Energy Solutions headquarters is the color of steel wool when Isaiah Brooks pulls his F-150 into the parking lot at 5:30 in the morning. Same spot every day. Far corner, away from the Teslas and Porsches and BMWs that cluster near the entrance like expensive birds at a watering hole. His truck looks like it wandered in from another decade, another world, another definition of value. Isaiah kills the engine. The sudden silence has weight. He sits for a moment, hands still on the steering wheel, looking at the building in front of him. 40 stories of glass and steel and quarterly earnings reports. The kind of building that wins architecture awards and makes people feel small. He's felt small here for 6 years. The gold band catches morning light as he reaches for his toolbox. Calloused hands, scars on the knuckles from 54 years of fixing things, building things, making things work. These aren't the hands of someone who spent 15 years at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. These aren't the hands of someone with 3 degrees from 3 universities. These are the hands of a janitor, which is exactly what they're supposed to be. Isaiah walks across the parking lot. His reflection slides across tinted windows, gray coveralls, heavy work boots, a man designed to be overlooked. Security guards in the lobby nod without looking up. They don't know his name. After 6 years, they still don't know his name. The elevator is empty. Isaiah presses the button for the 40th floor. Executive territory. Corner offices with views of a city that used to build things and now mostly just remembers building things. The doors close. He watches the numbers climb. Thinks about Maya. Always thinks about Maya. She used to say, Isaiah, some revolutions need warriors. Ours needs builders. 20 years later, he's still building. Still keeping the promise he made to her in that hospital room, her hand in his, her eyes asking him not to let them win, not to let 20 years of work disappear because powerful men decided genius was something they could steal. The elevator opens onto polished marble floors. Isaiah pulls out his mop, starts working, becomes invisible again. Executives walk past, junior vice presidents, senior analysts. People who make more in a month than Isaiah makes in a year. Their shoes click against marble he cleaned at 5:30 this morning. Their conversations float over his head like he's furniture. Quarterly projections look strong. Board meeting next week. Innovation showcase this afternoon should be interesting. Isaiah pushes his mop bucket forward with steady rhythm. Doesn't look up. Doesn't engage. 6 years of practice has made invisibility an art form, but his eyes never stop moving. Security camera in the northeast corner. Server room access panel behind the Monet reproduction. Ventilation system that runs directly over the main conference room. He's not just mopping floors. He's never been just mopping floors. The innovation showcase starts at noon. It's become tradition at Apex Energy executives show off their cars. Compete to see whose bonus bought the most impressive vehicle, celebrate another quarter of profit built on technology they don't understand and didn't invent. The parking lot has been transformed. A small stage sits near the entrance. 50 executives form a loose semicircle, champagne in hand. Phones out ready to record the kind of corporate pageantry that makes them feel successful. Teslas line the premium spots. A BMW i8 gleams like a promise. Someone arrived in a Mercedes EQS that cost more than most people make in 5 years. The kind of cars that whisper, you've made it, you've arrived, you matter. And then in the far corner sits Isaiah's truck. It doesn't whisper. It apologizes for existing. Victoria Sterling stands at the microphone, 45 years old but looking 10 years younger with the kind of maintenance that costs 6 figures annually. Blonde hair pulled back tight. Designer suit that probably required 3 fittings. She inherited Apex Energy from her father 3 years ago and has spent that time proving she can be just as ruthless, just as successful, just as willing to step on whoever needs stepping on. She's never learned the name of the man who mops her floors. Ladies and gentlemen, Victoria's voice has the practiced warmth of someone who's never felt actual warmth. I want to thank you all for another record-breaking quarter. Your innovation, your dedication, your excellence. This is what makes Apex Energy the industry leader. Applause. Self-congratulation. Phones recording. Victoria's eyes scan the parking lot, land on Isaiah's truck. A smile spreads across her face, the kind of smile that comes right before cruelty. And speaking of innovation, she points, I want to draw your attention to this remarkable vehicle in the back, a true testament to, let's call it, vintage sustainability. Laughter ripples through the crowd. Someone whistles, camera phones swivel toward the rusted F-150. I mean, look at that patina. Victoria's warming up now, feeding on the energy. That's not rust, that's character, that's history, that's... She pauses for effect. Detroit's finest contribution to the future of transportation. More laughter. Louder this time. Someone in the back shouts, does it run on hopes and prayers? Victoria grins. I was going to ask if it runs on food stamps, but that might be insensitive. The crowd erupts. This is what they came for. Not innovation, not excellence. The chance to feel superior to someone who can't fight back. There he is. Victoria's voice cuts through the noise. Our guest of honor, come on up. Don't be shy. The crowd parts. Isaiah stands 30 feet away, still wearing his coveralls, still holding his mop. Every eye in the parking lot slides toward him, then away, like he's a stain they don't want to acknowledge directly. Silas Thorne steps forward, 44 years old, Harvard MBA VP of Operations. The kind of man who keeps a Tesla in the garage and a Porsche in the driveway because one car couldn't contain his success. His hand lands on Isaiah's shoulder with pressure that suggests retreat isn't an option. Ms. Sterling is talking to you, Marcus. Isaiah. The correction is quiet. My name is Isaiah. Right, Isaiah. Sorry. Silas doesn't sound sorry. His hand pushes, not hard, just enough to make the point you don't belong here, but you're going to participate in your own humiliation anyway. Isaiah walks, each step measured, deliberate. The faces around him blur into a collective expression of casual cruelty, the kind that comes easy when you've never been on the receiving end. Victoria's grin widens as he reaches the stage. Everyone, this is... She pauses, looks at Silas. What's his name again? Isaiah Thompson. Brooks. Another quiet correction. Isaiah Brooks. Isaiah Brooks, of course. Victoria turns back to the crowd. Isaiah has been with us for how long? 6 years. 6 years, and in all that time, Isaiah has been driving this beautiful vintage vehicle to work every single day. I thought, why not include everyone in our innovation showcase, even our support staff? She pronounces support staff the way someone might pronounce infectious disease. Isaiah stands there, hands at his sides, the gold band catching afternoon light. His face shows nothing. No anger, no shame, no reaction at all. That is your truck, isn't it? Victoria continues. The vintage model, it's mine. The words land flat. No inflection, no emotion, just fact. Someone in the crowd starts a slow clap that catches on for a few beats before dying out. Phones record everything. This will be on social media in minutes. CEO hilariously roasts Janitor's car. Watch to the end. Victoria waits for Isaiah to say more, to defend himself, to provide more fuel for the fire. He doesn't, just stands there, composed, looking at his truck with an expression that might be sadness or might be something deeper. Something that looks like a man seeing the most valuable thing he owns being mocked by people who wouldn't understand value if it came with a price tag. Well, Victoria's smile falters slightly. She'd expected more. Thank you for being such a good sport about this, Isaiah. Everyone, let's give him a round of applause for, you want to hear it run? The words stop Victoria mid-sentence. The laughter stutters, goes silent. Isaiah's voice hasn't changed, still quiet, still measured, but there's something underneath it now. Something that makes the hair on the back of Victoria's neck stand up without her knowing why. Excuse me? The truck. You want to hear the engine? Silas Thorne's hand lands on Isaiah's shoulder again. Heavier this time. Isaiah, maybe you should just... But Isaiah's already walking toward the F-150. The crowd parts. Confusion replacing amusement. Whispers start up behind him. What's he doing? Is he serious? This should be good. He reaches the truck, puts his hand on the door handle. Metal warm from afternoon sun. Familiar. Comforting. The door opens with the squeal of hinges that needed oil 15 years ago. Isaiah slides into the driver's seat. The smell hits him immediately. Old leather, motor oil, and something else. Something only he can identify, Maya's perfume. Faint now. Almost gone, but still there. Still with him. Always with him. He puts his hands on the steering wheel, closes his eyes. I'm sorry, he whispers to the empty passenger seat. I tried to stay invisible, but they won't let me. His hand finds the ignition. The key is worn smooth from 23 years of use. He can feel every scratch, every groove, every moment of the life this truck has lived. He turns the key. The engine doesn't sputter, doesn't cough or wheeze or groan, doesn't make any of the sounds you'd expect from a 40-year-old truck with rust eating its hood. Instead, it sings. A deep, resonant harmonic rolls across the parking lot. The sound is unlike anything that crowd has ever heard. Not from a car, not from a plane, not from any machine ever built. It vibrates through the asphalt, through their shoes, through their chests. A frequency that shouldn't exist. The laughter stops. Every single person in that parking lot goes silent. Isaiah revs the engine once, twice, 3 times. Each time that impossible sound fills the air, making their teeth hum, making their hearts synchronize to a rhythm that defies explanation. Dr. Rebecca Caldwell, a junior engineer standing near the back, presses her hand to her chest. Her heart is racing, not from fear, from professional recognition. She's heard engines from Ferrari, from military contractors, from experimental propulsion labs. She's never heard this. Nobody has. Victoria's champagne flute slips from her fingers, shatters on the asphalt. She doesn't notice. She's staring at the truck, her brain trying to process what her ears are telling her, trying to reconcile the rusted exterior with the symphony coming from under the hood. Silas Thorne's smile has vanished completely, replaced by something that looks almost like fear. Isaiah kills the engine. The silence that follows is deafening. He steps out of the truck, closes the door gently. The squeal of hinges sounds obscene after that perfect mechanical harmony. And then he walks back toward the building. Doesn't look at anyone. Doesn't explain. Doesn't acknowledge the stunned silence, the dropped phones, the executives frozen mid-laugh like someone hit pause on their certainty. His gray coveralls brush against $1,000 suits. His work boots scuff marble that cost more per square foot than his annual salary. His weathered hands hang at his sides with the easy dignity of someone who has nothing left to prove. Victoria's voice chases him across the parking lot, all the mockery stripped away, replaced by something raw and hungry. Wait, what was that? What kind of engine? But Isaiah's already gone, disappearing through the glass doors, returning to his mop, returning to his bucket, returning to invisibility. Behind him, the crowd stands frozen, staring at the rusted F-150 like they've just witnessed a miracle, because they have. They just don't know it yet. Victoria can't sleep. 2 in the morning. She lies in her penthouse bedroom 40 floors above Detroit, staring at the ceiling, listening to that sound replay in her mind over and over like a song she can't forget. That engine. That impossible engine. She's been around vehicles her whole life. Her father built Apex Energy from a small auto parts manufacturer into a renewable energy giant. She grew up in garages and factories surrounded by the smell of gasoline and the roar of combustion engines. She knows what machines sound like. Every machine has a signature, a fingerprint, the cough of a cold start, the growl of acceleration, the whine of gears engaging. After 45 years, Victoria can identify most engines by sound alone. What she heard today wasn't in her catalog. That smooth, resonant tone wasn't something any conventional machine should be able to make. She reaches for her phone. Silas answers on the 3rd ring, voice thick with sleep. Victoria, it's 2 in the morning. I need you in my office tomorrow, 6 sharp. What? Why? I need everything you can find on Isaiah Brooks. Employment history, background check, previous addresses, education records. I want to know where he came from. What he did before he started pushing a mop around my building. Silence stretches across the line. She can hear Silas breathing, hear him calculating what this means. You want me to investigate the janitor? Did you hear that engine today? Yeah, it was different, I guess. Old truck probably has some custom work. Different. Victoria sits up in bed, adrenaline burning through her exhaustion. Silas, I've heard engines from Ferrari. From Lamborghini, from military jets that can break the sound barrier. I've sat in on demonstrations of cutting-edge propulsion systems from every major defense contractor in the country. She pauses, lets it land. I have never heard anything like that. Not once. Not ever. She can hear Silas processing on the other end, recalculating, adjusting his approach. 6 a.m. my office. Don't be late. She hangs up, lies back down, but sleep won't come. Every time she closes her eyes, she sees Isaiah Brooks's face as he walked back into the building. No triumph, no satisfaction, no revenge, just sadness, like a man carrying a weight too heavy to bear. Silas is waiting in her office at 5:45, which means he probably arrived at 5:30. Preparing his report, covering his ass, making sure whatever Victoria wants, Victoria gets. A thin folder sits on her desk, thicker than it should be for a janitor. Victoria picks it up. Coffee grows cold in her other hand as morning light strengthens outside her window. Isaiah Brooks, 54 years old, born in Detroit to a working-class family. Father was a mechanic. Mother was a nurse. Bachelor's degree in nuclear physics from MIT. Victoria stops reading, sets down her coffee cup. The sound it makes against the desk is too loud. MIT. Silas leans forward. For the first time since she's known him, she sees something in his expression that might be genuine surprise. It gets better. Master's from Stanford, PhD from Caltech. Victoria feels something cold creep up her spine. Caltech. After Caltech, he spent 15 years at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Worked on propulsion systems for deep space missions. Published 47 papers, won 3 major awards. The guy was a rising star. There was talk he was being considered for division director. The coffee is cold now. Victoria doesn't notice. She's staring at the file like it's written in a language she doesn't speak. Then what the hell is he doing mopping my floors? That's where it gets strange. Silas points at the folder. About 20 years ago, he just disappears. Leaves NASA. Drops off the grid completely. No publications, no patents, no employment records, nothing. It's like he ceased to exist. People don't just disappear. He did for 14 years, then 6 years ago he shows up here. Applies for a janitorial position with a resume that lists him as a high school dropout with no work experience. A fake resume. Whoever did his background check didn't dig very deep, or didn't care. Silas shrugs. Who investigates janitors, right? Victoria stares at the folder. A NASA engineer, a propulsion specialist, a PhD from Caltech. Hiding in her building for 6 years, mopping floors, emptying trash cans, being invisible. The question isn't just why. The question is, what else is he hiding? Silas reaches into his briefcase, pulls out a printout, an old newspaper article from the Detroit Free Press dated 20 years ago. The paper is yellowed at the edges from 2 decades of digital storage. There's one more thing. I found this from right before Brooks disappeared from NASA. The headline makes Victoria's blood run cold. Physicist's wife dies after long battle with cancer. Lawsuit against energy company dismissed same week. Below it a photograph. Isaiah Brooks, younger, thinner, his eyes hollow with grief. He stands beside a woman in a hospital bed. She's smiling despite the tubes in her arms, despite the shadows under her eyes that speak of months of treatment and pain. The woman is beautiful. Dark skin, high cheekbones, intelligence radiating from her expression even through the haze of medication. She's holding Isaiah's hand like she'll never let go. The caption reads, Dr. Maya Brooks, 44, nuclear physicist with husband, Dr. Isaiah Brooks. Mrs. Brooks passed away April 14th after complications from cancer treatment. Victoria reads the article 3 times. The details are sparse but damning. Isaiah and Maya Brooks had developed some kind of revolutionary energy system. They'd approached an energy company for funding and partnership. A dispute had arisen. Patents had been filed, lawsuits had followed. The Brooks lost. Maya died the same week their final appeal was dismissed, and then Isaiah disappeared from public life entirely. Victoria's hands tremble as she sets down the article. "The lawsuit," she says quietly. "Who was the energy company?" Silas doesn't answer. Doesn't need to. His expression says everything. Victoria opens a drawer in her desk. The bottom one. The one she never opens. Inside are files her father left behind. Legacy documents. Things she was supposed to keep but never look at. She pulls out a folder labeled Acquired Patents. Confidential. Starts reading. Her coffee gets colder. The sun rises higher. Silas sits in silence, and Victoria Sterling begins to understand that the empire she inherited was built on something darker than she'd ever imagined. The documents are clinical, precise, the kind of language lawyers use when they want to distance themselves from what they're actually doing. A letter from Isaiah and Maya Brooks dated 21 years ago. Addressed to Harold Cross, CEO of Apex Energy, Victoria's father. "Dear Mr. Cross, we are writing to propose a partnership that we believe could revolutionize the energy industry. Over the past 12 years, my wife and I have developed a breakthrough in fusion technology. A compact reactor system capable of generating clean, sustainable power with zero emissions and virtually unlimited fuel supply. We have attached preliminary specifications and test results. As you will see, our prototype has demonstrated continuous operation for over 2,000 hours without external fuel input. We believe this technology could eliminate dependence on fossil fuels within a generation. We are seeking a partnership with Apex Energy to bring this technology to market. We believe your company's expertise in renewable energy combined with our technical innovations could change the world. We look forward to your response. Sincerely, Dr. Isaiah Brooks. Dr. Maya Brooks." Victoria's breathing becomes shallow as she pulls out the next document. A memo from her father to his legal team. Brooks Fusion Patents. Acquisition complete, total cost $3.2 million in legal fees. Settlement with Brooks, $0. Their lawyers withdrew when they couldn't afford to continue. Technology assessment. Potentially revolutionary, but current prototypes unreliable. Our engineering team has been unable to replicate results. The Brooks apparently kept critical components undocumented, stored in their heads, not on paper. Recommendation. Bury the patents. Prevent competitors from developing similar technology. If we can't use it, no one can. Note: Maya Brooks died April 14th. Isaiah Brooks has disappeared. No further legal action expected. Victoria reads the memo 4 times. Her father had stolen technology from a dying woman and her grieving husband, had buried it in corporate archives, had used legal warfare to crush 2 people who just wanted to change the world, and then he'd gone home to his mansion and slept soundly. Because that's what powerful people do. They take what they want and call it business. There's more in the box: patent filings, engineering reports, assessments from Apex scientists who couldn't make the Brooks reactor work because they didn't have the full design. And at the bottom, a handwritten note in her father's script: Brooks problem resolved. Technology secured. They'll never recover. Victoria sets down the note. For a long moment she just sits there, staring at the box of evidence, at the documentation of her family's sins. She thinks about Isaiah Brooks pushing that mop across her lobby floor. Invisible, forgotten, working in the building of the company that destroyed his life. 6 years. 6 years he's been here, walking past her every morning, cleaning her office every night, carrying the weight of everything her father did, and she'd never even learned his name. What do you want to do? Silas's voice breaks through her thoughts. He's watching her carefully, calculating which way this will go, whether he needs to protect himself or protect the company or protect his boss. Victoria looks up. Her face is pale, her eyes red-rimmed. I want him gone. Gone! Fire him, today. Before the end of his shift, I want him out of this building. Silas hesitates. Victoria, if he knows what his tech was worth, if he's been planning something, I don't care. Fire him, make it clean, no severance, no paperwork trail, just make him disappear. The way her father made Isaiah disappear 20 years ago. The way powerful people always make problems disappear. Silas nods, stands. I'll handle it personally. He walks out. The door closes with a soft click. Victoria sits alone in her office, surrounded by evidence of her father's crimes, evidence of what her empire is built on. She picks up her phone, starts to dial, stops, puts it down. And for the first time in her life, Victoria Sterling doesn't know what to do. Isaiah is mopping the 42nd floor when Silas finds him. 11:47 in the morning. The sun streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, turning the city below into a map of broken promises. Isaiah! We need to talk. Isaiah doesn't stop mopping, doesn't look up, just keeps working. Steady rhythm. The sound of water against marble, the soundtrack of 6 years of invisibility. Isaiah, I heard you. Silas shifts his weight. This is harder than he expected. The man won't even look at him. Ms. Sterling has decided to reorganize the facilities staff. We're going to have to let you go, effective immediately. Isaiah stops mopping, sets the handle against the wall, straightens up, looks Silas in the eye for the first time in 6 years. She found the files. It's not a question. Silas's expression confirms it anyway. I don't know what you're talking about. This is just a standard workforce reduction, nothing personal. No. Isaiah's voice carries quiet certainty. It's extremely personal. That's the whole point. He walks to the janitor's closet, pulls out his toolbox, personal items, a thermos, a photograph he keeps in the bottom drawer where no one ever looks. Maya, 8 months pregnant, smiling at the camera like she knows something the rest of the world hasn't figured out yet. Security will escort you out. I know the way. 2 guards appear from around the corner. They've been waiting. Probably got the call 20 minutes ago. Stand there looking uncomfortable because even they can tell this isn't standard procedure. Isaiah walks between them, down the hallway, past the executives who finally look at him now that he's being removed, past Dr. Rebecca Caldwell who meets his eyes for just a second with an expression that might be sympathy. Into the elevator, down, across the lobby, out the glass doors into afternoon sun that feels too bright. The parking lot is mostly empty now. Lunch hour. The innovation showcase feels like it happened a year ago instead of this morning. Isaiah walks to his truck. The F-150 sits where it sat for 6 years. Far corner, away from everything, waiting. He opens the door, that squeal of hinges, that smell of old leather and motor oil and memory, slides into the driver's seat, puts his hands on the steering wheel, doesn't cry, hasn't cried since the day they buried Maya. Amara was 16 days old. Isaiah held her in one arm and threw dirt on his wife's casket with the other. Made a promise right there in that cemetery that he wouldn't break. I'll finish what we started. I'll make them see. I'll make sure everyone knows your name. 20 years later, he's still keeping that promise. He turns the key. That sound fills the parking lot one last time. That impossible, beautiful harmony that doesn't belong to this world. The sound of genius and grief and 20 years of invisible work. Victoria Sterling watches from her 40th floor window, 40 floors up. might as well be 40 light years. She can see Isaiah's truck, can hear that engine even through the glass, can see him drive away, and something inside her, something she thought had died when her father died. Cracks like old ice, the truck disappears around the corner. Victoria stands at the window, alone with the evidence, alone with the truth, alone with the understanding that she just made the biggest mistake of her life. Victoria doesn't go home, can't face the penthouse, can't face the silence, can't face the floor-to-ceiling windows that show her a city she thought she understood and doesn't anymore. Instead, she drives, 2 in the morning. The roads are empty. Detroit sleeps around her like a patient under anesthesia, dreaming of better days that may or may not come. Her Mercedes whispers through streets her father used to own, past factories that closed before she was born, past neighborhoods that remember when this city built the future with steel and sweat and the kind of honest work that doesn't exist anymore. She ends up in Grosse Pointe. Old money. The kind of neighborhood where the houses have names instead of numbers, where the driveways are longer than most people's streets. Montgomery Reed's estate sits at the end of a road lined with oak trees older than the automobile industry itself. The gate is open, has been open since his wife died 5 years ago. No point locking things when you're just waiting to die. Victoria parks, walks up the driveway. Her heels click against stone that was laid when Eisenhower was president. The door opens before she knocks. Montgomery Reed sits in his wheelchair at the threshold, 82 years old, shrunken, diminished, the kind of old that comes not from years but from carrying weight too long. I've been waiting for this call for 20 years. His voice sounds like gravel in a tin can. Wondered when you'd figure it out. You knew. I helped him do it, Victoria. Of course I knew. He wheels himself backward, gestures for her to enter. The house smells like old books and older regrets. They go to his study, same room where he and Harold Cross planned the acquisition of 100 companies. Same desk where they signed documents that made them rich and other people poor. Same fireplace where they celebrated victories that looked different depending on which side you were standing. Montgomery wheels to a cabinet. His hands shake as he opens a drawer. Inside is a folder. Manila. Worn at the edges. The kind of thing you keep because you know someday you'll have to answer for it. He holds it out. Victoria takes it. Her hands steadier than his. She's younger. Hasn't been carrying this particular sin as long. Your father was my best friend for 40 years. Montgomery's eyes glisten. I loved him like a brother, but I never said I was proud of everything he did. Victoria opens the folder. The first document is a letter, 21 years old, from Isaiah and Maya Brooks to Harold Cross. She's already read this. Already knows what it says. Already understands what her father did, but seeing it here, in Montgomery's private archive, the folder he kept all these years like evidence he knew would someday be needed. That makes it real in a way the corporate files didn't. They were young. Montgomery's voice cracks. Brilliant. Naive. They thought your father would help them bring it to market. They thought they'd found a partner. He pulls out another document. A photograph, Isaiah and Maya standing beside their prototype. Early version, rough around the edges, but the genius is there in the design, in the way the components fit together like a puzzle only they could solve. They're smiling, hopeful, unaware of what's coming. Your father saw an opportunity. Montgomery wheels closer. A young black couple. No money, no connections, no way to defend themselves, and technology that could be worth billions. Victoria feels something cold settle in her stomach. He stole their patents. He did worse than that. Montgomery pulls out another photo. This one is harder to look at. Maya, pregnant, thin, hair gone from chemotherapy, sitting in a hospital bed with Isaiah beside her. Her hand on her swollen belly, his hand covering hers. Both of them looking at the camera with the kind of exhaustion that comes from fighting battles on multiple fronts. Cancer in her body, lawyers in the courts. Time running out on both. Maya got sick about a year into the lawsuits. Montgomery's pronunciation of the name is careful, respectful, like he's been practicing saying it right for 20 years. Cancer, ovarian, fast-moving. He pauses, takes a breath that sounds like it hurts. They couldn't afford treatment and legal fees at the same time. Isaiah tried to settle, offered to walk away. Let your father have everything just so he could focus on his wife, on their baby. Victoria's throat tightens. What did my father say? Montgomery is quiet for a long moment. When he speaks again, his voice is barely above a whisper. He said no. Said settling would be an admission of wrongdoing. Said the Brooks needed to be completely destroyed so they could never come back. The folder slips from Victoria's hands. Papers scatter across the floor. He killed her. He didn't pull the trigger, but he made sure she died without ever seeing her work recognized. He made sure she died believing she had failed. Victoria bends down, starts gathering the papers. Her hands shake. One photograph. Maya in that hospital bed, one hand on her pregnant belly, the other reaching for Isaiah. Her eyes asking him something, asking him to promise something. Don't let them bury it. Don't let them win. Victoria knows that look, has seen it before in her own mirror in moments when she thought about being more than her father's daughter and didn't know how. You knew all this time. She looks up at Montgomery. You knew and you said nothing. I was a coward. The tears are falling now. Old man tears that come easy because there's nothing left to hold them back. I told myself it was just business. Told myself there was nothing I could do. Told myself your father was too powerful to challenge. You could have testified. I could have done a lot of things. Montgomery's voice rises, then falls. But I didn't. And I've lived with that shame every day for 20 years, watching that man mop floors in the building we built on his stolen dreams, knowing what we took from him, knowing what we took from his wife, from their daughter. Victoria stands. The papers are still scattered. She doesn't care anymore. Their daughter, Amara, born 2 weeks before Maya died, 16 days old when her mother passed. Isaiah raised her alone. On what money I don't know, doing what work I can't imagine. Montgomery wheels to the window, looks out at his estate, at the life bought with money that came from somewhere. If I had to guess why he came back, why he's been working at Apex for 6 years. He turns to look at Victoria. He's waiting for something. The Isaiah Brooks I remember wasn't the type to give up. He's been working on that reactor for 20 years. If he's hiding in your building, there's a reason. What reason? That's what scares me. When you find out, you might not like the answer. Victoria looks down at the scattered papers, at the evidence of sins she didn't commit but benefited from, at the documentation of her family's crimes. What am I supposed to do with this? Montgomery meets her eyes. That's not for me to say. Your father made his choices, now you have to make yours. Victoria bends down, starts gathering the papers again. This time her hands are steady. She's made her decision. The press conference happens at noon. 6 days after Isaiah was fired, Victoria watches it on the television in her office. The board meeting was supposed to start 10 minutes ago. They're waiting for her downstairs. She doesn't care. Can't look away from the screen. Isaiah stands at a modest podium. Simple backdrop. No corporate logos, no expensive production. Just a man and a microphone and the truth. He's wearing a dark suit, not expensive, but clean, pressed. The gold band catches light as he adjusts the microphone. Thank you all for coming. His voice is the same, quiet, steady, the kind that makes you lean forward to hear better. My name is Dr. Isaiah Brooks. 23 years ago, my wife Maya and I developed a breakthrough in fusion technology. The room is packed. Reporters, engineers, people from universities and government agencies and companies that have been trying to solve this problem for decades. Dr. Rebecca Caldwell sits in the third row. She left Apex yesterday, walked out during her lunch break, didn't come back. Now she's here, phone recording, taking notes. The Phoenix reactor is a self-sustaining fusion system that recycles its own energy output. Isaiah's hands rest on the podium, steady. In laboratory conditions, our prototype has run continuously for over 15,000 hours without any external fuel source. A murmur runs through the crowd. Someone whispers, "That's impossible." Isaiah doesn't react, just continues. This technology could eliminate carbon emissions in power generation, while simultaneously reducing costs and increasing efficiency. It's what Maya dreamed of before she died. It's what we spent our lives building together. He pauses just for a moment, just long enough for people to see the weight of those words. I'm pleased to announce that Phoenix Power Systems has received federal funding of $50 million for the development and commercialization of this technology. The room erupts, questions shouted over questions, cameras flashing. This is the kind of announcement that changes industries, that makes careers, that rewrites textbooks. Isaiah waits for the noise to die down. "I'll take questions now." A reporter in the front row stands, young, aggressive, the kind who's built a career on asking the questions other people are afraid to ask. "Mr. Brooks, Dr. Brooks, is it true that this technology was stolen from you 20 years ago? Is it true that Apex Energy acquired your patents through fraudulent means?" The room goes silent. Every camera swivels to Isaiah's face. Victoria leans closer to the screen. Her pulse pounds. Isaiah's expression doesn't change, doesn't harden, doesn't show anger or bitterness or the 20 years of grief that should be there. "There will be a time to discuss the history of this technology." His voice is measured, careful. "For now, I want to focus on the future, on what the Phoenix reactor can do for the world." Another reporter. "But Dr. Brooks, if your work was stolen, my wife believed this technology could help people." Isaiah looks directly into the camera. Victoria feels like he's looking straight at her. "That's what matters. That's what I'm here to honor." He takes 3 more questions, all technical, all about the science, refuses to be drawn into discussion of the past, of Apex, of what was taken from him. When it's over, he walks off the stage, composed, leaving behind a room full of people who just watched a revolution announced by a man who could have used this moment for revenge and chose something else instead. Victoria turns off the television. Her phone has 17 missed calls. The board is furious. Silas has sent 9 text messages, each one more urgent than the last. She ignores all of it, picks up her keys, walks out of her office, takes the elevator down, not to the boardroom, to the parking garage, gets in her car, and drives to the one place she's been avoiding for 6 days, Southwest Detroit, 3 in the morning. The warehouse district looks like the end of the world. Abandoned buildings, broken streetlights, the kind of neighborhood where people don't ask questions because they don't want answers. Victoria's Mercedes looks obscene here. Too expensive, too clean, too much evidence that 2 Americas exist in the same city and pretend they don't. She parks outside a converted warehouse. The sign above the door reads Phoenix Power Systems. Through the window, she can see lights burning. Movement. Work happening at an hour when most people are asleep. The F-150 is parked near the entrance. Same rust, same tarp, same truck that she mocked 6 days ago in front of 50 executives. Victoria sits in her car, gathering courage she's not sure she possesses. What is she doing here? What is she going to say? I'm sorry my father killed your wife. I'm sorry I fired you. I'm sorry I built my life on your stolen dreams. Words feel inadequate. Worse than inadequate. Insulting. But she's here. Has to be here. Can't not be here. She gets out of the car, walks to the door. It's unlocked. She steps inside and finds herself in a workshop. Rough. Industrial. The kind of space that prioritizes function over form. Equipment everywhere, prototypes, diagnostic systems, the organized chaos of serious innovation. And at the center of it all, Isaiah. He's bent over a workbench, hands moving with precision. The gold band catches fluorescent light. He doesn't look up. I wondered when you'd come. His voice is the same, quiet, no surprise, no anger. Victoria stops walking, stands there, 10 feet away. Might as well be 10 miles. How did you know I would? Because you're not him, not completely. Isaiah sets down his tools, straightens up, turns to face her. You found the files, found what he did, and it broke something in you. I could see it from the parking lot when I drove away. Victoria's throat tightens. I read everything, every memo, every lie, I know. He murdered her. The words come out broken, as surely as if he'd poisoned her. He made sure she couldn't afford treatment, made sure she died fighting lawyers instead of fighting cancer. Yes, just that. Yes, no anger, no accusation, just acknowledgement of a truth they both know. How? Victoria's voice cracks. How do you not hate me? Isaiah is quiet for a moment, studying her, looking for something. Hate takes energy I don't have. Maya taught me that. She said, Isaiah, some revolutions need warriors, ours needs builders. He walks to a shelf, pulls down a thick binder. Its pages are yellowed with age, the cover worn from years of handling. Original specifications, handwritten by me and Maya. Everything your father couldn't steal because we kept it in our heads. He holds it out. Victoria stares at it like it might explode. Why would you give this to me? I'm not giving it to you. I'm testing you. Isaiah's eyes are hard now, all the softness gone. Take this, study it. If you can understand what Maya and I built, not just the mechanics, but the philosophy, the heart of it, then maybe you're capable of being someone different than your father. He presses the binder into her hands. And if you can't, then you'll prove you're exactly who I think you are. And this conversation will be the last we ever have. Victoria takes the binder. It's heavier than she expected. On the cover in elegant handwriting, Maya's handwriting, are the words, for Isaiah, for Amara, for everyone who needs light in darkness. Her hands tremble. How long do I have? As long as it takes. Isaiah turns back to his workbench. The conversation is over. Victoria walks out into the night, clutching the binder to her chest. Behind her, the lights of Phoenix Power glow warm against the darkness. In her hands, she holds the key to everything. She just doesn't know yet if she's strong enough to turn it. The storage unit in Dearborn costs $200 a month. Victoria rents the largest one available, empties her bank account, the personal one, not the frozen corporate accounts, buying equipment. Machine tools, diagnostic systems, welding gear, everything she'd find in a proper engineering lab crammed into a 10 by 20 concrete box. Her board has called another meeting. She doesn't attend. Her lawyers have left 17 voicemails. She doesn't listen. Apex stock has dropped 38% in 6 days. She doesn't check. She opens the binder. Maya's handwriting fills the first page. Neat. Precise. The handwriting of someone who knew her time was limited and didn't want to waste a second. The Phoenix reactor is not about creating energy from nothing. That's impossible. It's about respect. Respecting the energy that already exists. Capturing what would otherwise be lost. Treating waste as opportunity. Below that, in Isaiah's handwriting, The universe doesn't have a scarcity problem. It has a wisdom problem. We throw away more than we use. The Phoenix changes that. Victoria reads those words 3 times, thinks about her own life. The energy she's wasted on appearances, on competition, on proving herself to people who don't matter. The opportunities she's thrown away because they didn't fit her image of success. She's been living her whole life like a wasteful engine, losing more than she uses. She starts building. Day 1. Burns her hands with a soldering iron. Cries from pain and frustration and the overwhelming sense that she's in over her head. Day 5. First prototype runs for 8 seconds before the energy loop collapses. Day 12, second prototype runs for 45 seconds. Progress. Painful. Incremental. Real. Day 20. She's sleeping on an air mattress in the corner of the storage unit, showering at a truck stop 3 blocks away, eating cold Chinese takeout because she forgets meals exist until hunger makes her hands shake. Her former assistant calls. "Ms. Sterling, the board has voted. They're removing you as CEO effective immediately." Victoria is elbow deep in a reactor housing, covered in grease, hair pulled back with a rubber band, fingers blistered and scarred. Okay, that's it. You're not going to fight this." "No, I'm busy." She hangs up, gets back to work. Day 28. The prototype runs for 2 minutes before overheating. She reads Maya's notes again, finds a passage she missed before the key is patience. The system needs time to find its rhythm. Don't force it. Guide it. Guide. Don't force. Victoria thinks about how she's lived her whole life. Forcing. Demanding. Taking. Never guiding. Never waiting. Never trusting anything to develop naturally. Day 35. She hits her thumb with a hammer, hard enough to turn the nail black, sits on the concrete floor, stares at her ruined hands. These aren't the hands of a CEO anymore. These are the hands of someone who builds things, who fails, who tries again. Day 42, 3 in the morning. Victoria makes one final adjustment, a tiny change to the energy flow regulator. Something she's overlooked a dozen times before. She connects the power cell, holds her breath, turns the key. The reactor starts, smooth, quiet, perfect. 5 minutes pass, 10, 20. The energy loop holds. The system recycles its own output, feeding back into itself, sustaining motion without external fuel. Victoria sits down on the concrete floor and cries, not from exhaustion, not from relief. She cries because for the first time in her life, she's built something real, something true, something that matters, and she cries because she understands now what Isaiah lost. The woman who wrote those notes, who dreamed these dreams, who poured her heart into this impossible vision. She's gone, and all the money and power in the world can't bring her back. Victoria pulls out her phone, hands shaking so badly she can barely dial. Isaiah answers on the 3rd ring. "It works." Silence on the other end. "The reactor, I built it. It's been running for 14 hours. More silence. Then Isaiah's voice. Guarded. But something else, too. Something that might be surprise. "You actually did it. I need to show you. I need you to see that I understand. Not just the mechanics, the meaning, the philosophy." Isaiah is quiet for so long Victoria thinks he might hang up. "Where are you?" She gives him the address. "I'll be there in 2 hours. Don't touch anything." He hangs up. Victoria sits in the storage unit, surrounded by the wreckage of her old life, surrounded by the beginning of something new. The reactor hums quietly in the corner, and outside the sun starts to rise over a city that's been waiting for someone to prove that broken things can be fixed, that waste can become wealth, that the powerful don't always win, not always, not anymore. Isaiah examines the reactor for 20 minutes without speaking. He checks every connection, every circuit, every component, runs diagnostics, monitors the energy flow, tests the stability. Victoria stands against the wall, doesn't interrupt, barely breathes. Finally, Isaiah straightens up, turns to face her. This configuration, the adjustment you made to the flow regulator, it's not in the binder. Victoria nods slowly. I know. I figured it out on my own, based on something Maya wrote about harmony, about every component working with every other component. I realized the original design had a small imbalance in the feedback loop. The change corrects it. Isaiah stares at her. Something shifts in his expression, something that looks almost like wonder. Maya and I spent 18 years on this reactor. We knew the imbalance was there, couldn't figure out how to fix it. He pauses. And you found the answer in 42 days. I had her notes. I had her philosophy. I just listened to what she was trying to teach. Isaiah walks to the binder, picks it up, flips through the pages slowly. Looking at Victoria's notes, her calculations, her questions and answers written in the margins alongside Maya's original text. She would have liked this. His voice is soft. Maya. She would have liked seeing her work continue, seeing someone else understand what we were trying to do. I wish I could have met her. So do I. Isaiah sets down the binder, looks at Victoria, really looks at her, seeing past the CEO, past the daughter of the man who destroyed his life, seeing the woman who spent 42 days in a storage unit trying to become someone different. I need a partner. Isaiah's voice is steady. Phoenix Power is growing faster than I can handle alone. The federal grant is just the beginning. We've got interest from power companies, from governments, from investors all over the world. He extends his hand. I need someone who understands the technology, who believes in the mission, who has the skills to navigate the business side of things, someone who's proven they can change. Victoria stares at his hand, not understanding. You want me to work with you? I want to give you a chance to prove who you are. Not your father's daughter, not the CEO who fired me, but the woman who spent 42 days destroying her hands and her reputation and her pride just to understand what two people built out of love. Victoria looks at his hand, weathered, strong, the hand of a man who's lost everything and refused to give up. She thinks about her own hands, blistered, scarred, transformed. She takes his hand, shakes it. I'll work harder than anyone you've ever met. I'll do whatever it takes to earn this. I know you will. Isaiah releases her hand, walks toward the door, stops at the threshold. Shut down the reactor. Pack your things. You start tomorrow. Isaiah, he turns. Thank you for giving me this chance, for believing I could change. For the first time since she's met him, something that might be a smile crosses Isaiah's face. Don't thank me yet. The hard part is just beginning. Then he walks out into the morning light, leaving Victoria alone with the reactor, with the binder, with the future she's finally ready to build. The press conference happens 3 weeks later. Victoria calls it herself. No corporate PR team, no carefully crafted messaging, no lawyers reviewing every word, just her, a microphone, and the truth. The room is packed, more packed than Isaiah's announcement, because this is the story people actually want, not the breakthrough, the breakdown, the fall, the confession, the spectacle. Victoria stands at the podium, same simple backdrop Isaiah used. No Apex logo, no branding, nothing to hide behind. She's wearing a dark suit, simple, professional. Her hands rest on the podium. People in the front row can see the scars, the blisters, the evidence of 42 days that changed everything. My name is Victoria Sterling, Until 3 weeks ago, I was CEO of Apex Energy Solutions, a company my father built, a company I inherited, a company that I recently discovered was founded on theft and lies and the systematic destruction of two brilliant scientists who wanted nothing more than to help the world. The room is silent. Cameras recording. This is the kind of confession that ends careers, that leads to lawsuits, that puts people in prison. Victoria doesn't care. She pulls out a folder, sets it on the podium. 21 years ago, Dr. Isaiah and Dr. Maya Brooks approached my father with a revolutionary fusion technology. A clean energy system that could have changed the world. Instead of partnering with them, my father stole their patents, used lawyers to bankrupt them, made sure they couldn't afford to fight back. She opens the folder, pulls out the first document. This is a memo from my father to his legal team. I'm going to read it verbatim. Her voice doesn't shake as she reads. Every word of Harold Cross's cold calculation, every detail of the systematic destruction, every piece of evidence that her empire was built on someone else's stolen dreams. When she's done, she sets down the paper. Dr. Maya Brooks was 8 months pregnant when my father refused to settle. She was dying of cancer, couldn't afford treatment and legal fees at the same time. My father knew this, and he used it as leverage. Victoria looks directly into the camera. Maya Brooks died 2 weeks after giving birth to her daughter. She died believing her life's work had been buried, that powerful people had won, that justice was something other people got to have. Pause. Let it land. I benefited from that theft for 45 years. I built my career on technology stolen from a dying woman. When I learned the truth, my first instinct was to do exactly what my father would have done. Fire the man he'd destroyed, protect the empire, hide the evidence. She pulls out another folder, sets it beside the first. This is the reactor I built, 42 days in a storage unit, following Maya Brooks's original notes, learning what she tried to teach 20 years ago. She holds up her hands, lets the cameras see the scars. I can't undo what my father did. I can't bring back the years Isaiah Brooks lost. I can't give Maya Brooks the recognition she deserved while she was alive. Her voice cracks. She doesn't hide it. But I can do something he never did. I can tell the truth. I can use whatever influence I have left to make sure the Phoenix technology reaches the people who need it. I can spend the rest of my life trying to deserve the second chance I've been given. She looks directly into the cameras. To everyone who was hurt by my father's actions, I'm sorry. To Isaiah Brooks, who showed me grace when I deserved condemnation, thank you. And to Maya Brooks, who I never had the honor to meet, I promise you that your dream will not be buried again. Your work will change the world, and everyone will know your name. Victoria steps back from the podium. The room erupts. Questions shouted over questions, cameras flashing. This is the biggest corporate scandal in a decade. This is career suicide. This is Victoria walks off the stage, doesn't take questions, doesn't elaborate, doesn't perform, just tells the truth and leaves. Outside, Isaiah is waiting, leaning against the F-150, arms crossed, watching through the window. When Victoria emerges, he straightens up. You did it. I did what you would have done, what Maya would have done. Isaiah shakes his head. No, we would have been angrier, more bitter. You did something harder. You told the truth when it cost you everything. Victoria looks back at the building, at the reporters still shouting questions at an empty stage. I didn't lose everything. I lost what I was. Maybe that's not the same thing. Isaiah opens the passenger door of his truck. Come on, we've got work to do. Victoria climbs in, sits in the seat where Maya sat 20 years ago, where she held Isaiah's hand during that last drive home, where she made him promise not to let them win. Isaiah starts the engine. That familiar harmonic fills the air, and they drive toward Phoenix Power, toward the future, toward the proof that broken things can be repaired if you're willing to do the work. If you're willing to change, if you're willing to believe that waste can become wealth, that loss can become gain, that even the worst version of ourselves doesn't have to be the final version. The truck disappears around the corner. Behind them, the press conference dissolves into chaos. But Isaiah and Victoria don't look back. They're done looking back. The trap is set on a Tuesday night. Isaiah calls a meeting at Phoenix Power. 9 p.m., late enough that honest people are home with their families. Early enough that people with other motives will make excuses to stay out. Victoria sits in the darkened office upstairs, laptop open. Security cameras feed live to her screen. "You think he'll actually come?" Her voice is quiet, uncertain. Isaiah stands at the window, looking down at the empty parking lot. The F-150 sits in its usual spot, waiting, always waiting. He'll come. Men like Silas Thorne can't help themselves. They see opportunity and they take it. That's what my wife's work taught me about energy. That's what your father taught me about people. Victoria flinches at the mention of her father. Still does, even after 3 months. Some wounds don't close just because you acknowledge them. The fake breakthrough. She pulls up the email on her screen. Efficiency increase of 40%. Fuel consumption reduced to near zero. Production costs cut in half. None of it's real, but it's what he wants to hear. What the people paying him want to hear. Isaiah checks his watch. 9:43. He'll be here soon. They wait in silence. The kind of silence that comes from working side by side for 3 months, learning each other's rhythms, building something together that's bigger than either of them alone. At 11:47, headlights sweep across the parking lot. A black Audi. Expensive. The kind of car you buy when you need everyone to know you've succeeded. Silas Thorne steps out, looks around, checks his phone. The parking lot is empty except for the F-150. He probably thinks Isaiah went home. Left the truck here like he always does. Silas walks to the side entrance, the one employees use when they're working late, the one that's supposed to be locked. It's not. He slips inside. Victoria's fingers fly across the keyboard, switching camera feeds, tracking his movement through the building. Main floor, heading toward the server room. Isaiah doesn't move, just watches through the window. Composed, patient, the way a man waits when he's been waiting for 20 years and knows another 20 minutes won't matter. Silas reaches the main terminal, pulls a USB drive from his pocket, the kind of thing you use when you're stealing data and want it to look like maintenance. He plugs it in, starts downloading files, specifications, test results, engineering documents. Everything he needs to prove to his buyers that Phoenix Power has achieved something revolutionary. Everything he needs to prove Phoenix Power can be beaten. Victoria's camera catches him photographing documents, planting something on the server, malware probably. Designed to corrupt systems from the inside, make the breakthrough fail, make Isaiah look like a fraud. It's elegant, professional, the kind of sabotage that's hard to trace. It's also being recorded from 6 different angles. Isaiah picks up his phone, dials a number he memorized 3 weeks ago. "Detective Morrison, it's Isaiah Brooks. You can come in now." The lights turn on. All of them. Every fluorescent tube in the building, sudden and bright and merciless. Silas spins around. USB drive still in the terminal. Files still downloading. Guilt written across his face in letters 10 feet tall. Isaiah walks out of the office, down the stairs, into the main workspace. Silas is frozen, calculating, looking for exits that don't exist anymore. "Dr. Brooks, I can explain." No need. You're stealing proprietary data to sell to foreign competitors. You're planting malware to sabotage our systems. You're committing corporate espionage, industrial sabotage, and probably violating about 15 federal statutes I don't know the names of. Isaiah's voice is the same. Quiet, measured. No anger, no triumph. Just facts delivered with the precision of someone who spent 15 years at NASA and knows how to document evidence. Detective Sarah Morrison walks in through the side entrance, 2 uniforms behind her. She's been waiting in an unmarked car 3 blocks away for 40 minutes. Silas Thorne. Silas doesn't run. Men like him never do. They're too convinced the system will protect them, that lawyers and connections and the right schools will make this all go away. I want my attorney. You'll get one. Detective Morrison nods to the uniforms. Silas Thorne, you're under arrest for corporate espionage, computer fraud, and conspiracy to commit theft of trade secrets. The handcuffs click, loud in the silence. Silas looks at Isaiah, really looks at him, seeing him for the first time as something other than the janitor, the invisible man, the person who doesn't matter. You think you've won. You think this changes anything. His voice is bitter, venomous. Your father was a great man, Victoria, a visionary. He understood that progress requires sacrifice, that the strong survive and the weak get left behind. Victoria steps out of the office, walks down the stairs, stands beside Isaiah. My father was a thief and a liar, and so are you. Silas laughs. The sound is hollow. Wrong. You think you're any different. You built your life on what he stole. You're a cross. You've got his blood in your veins, his instincts. You're just too weak to use them. Maybe. Victoria's voice is steady. Or maybe I'm strong enough to choose something different. Detective Morrison leads Silas toward the door. He's still talking, still making threats, still convinced this is temporary, that powerful people don't actually face consequences. The door closes behind him. Isaiah and Victoria stand in the empty workshop. The silence that follows is different from before, lighter, like something heavy has been lifted. He's right, you know. Victoria's voice is quiet. About my father, about what I inherited. He's right about the past. Isaiah turns to look at her. But the past isn't the future. That's what Maya taught me. That's what you're teaching yourself. Victoria looks at the reactor prototype on the workbench, the one they've been refining for 3 months, getting ready for the next phase. What happens now? Now, Isaiah pulls out his phone, shows her an email. Now we change the world. The subject line reads, GE Partnership Proposal, $2 billion investment opportunity. Thomas Hartley arrives on a Wednesday morning with a team of 6 engineers. All of them gray-haired, all of them carrying the weight of 30-plus years in an industry that spent those years failing to solve this exact problem. He's 68 years old, VP of Advanced Energy Systems at General Electric, the kind of man who's seen every miracle turn into a mirage, every breakthrough become a breakdown. He's not optimistic. Brooks, Ms. Sterling. He shakes their hands with the grip of someone who's done this 1,000 times and expects disappointment. We've reviewed your materials, impressive numbers, but numbers can be manipulated. Isaiah gestures toward the parking lot. We're not here to show you numbers. They walk outside, morning sun turning Detroit into something that looks almost hopeful. The F-150 sits where it always sits, rust and tarp and the promise of something nobody believes. Hartley wrinkles his nose. This is your demonstration. This is the original. The first Phoenix reactor ever built. It's been running for 23 years in this truck. Survived cross-country trips, Michigan winters, Detroit summers, never needed a major repair, never needed fuel. Never needed fuel. Hartley's skepticism cuts like glass. That's quite a claim. Watch. Isaiah opens the hood. The GE engineers crowd around, their doubt giving way to curiosity as they examine the components. One of them whispers something to Hartley. Hartley's expression shifts. Not much, but enough. Victoria connects monitoring equipment while Isaiah explains the energy recapture systems, the regenerative loops, the harmonized flow regulators, the philosophy Maya built into every component. Isaiah climbs into the driver's seat. The leather is cracked and worn, the dashboard faded. It looks like a truck that should have been scrapped 2 decades ago. He turns the key. The engine creates that perfect resonance. The sound fills the parking lot with harmonic precision that makes the air itself seem to vibrate. The GE engineers stare at their tablets, watching data flow across screens. Energy in, energy recycled, energy out. A loop that sustains itself, that grows stronger over time instead of weaker. One of them, a woman with white hair and 35 years at MIT, makes a sound that's almost a prayer. That's not possible. And yet, Isaiah's voice carries absolute certainty. There it is. The demonstration lasts 90 minutes. Isaiah answers every question, explains every component, walks through every technical detail without overselling, without exaggerating, just the truth about what he and Maya built, what it can do, what it means. When it's over, Hartley stands in silence, staring at the F-150 like he's seeing the future take shape in rust and determination. I've been in this industry for 32 years. I've seen a lot of people promise miracles. Most of them were lying. A few of them were delusional. He shakes his head slowly. But this is real. It's real. Hartley turns to face Isaiah fully. I know who you are, Dr. Brooks. I know what happened 20 years ago. I know what was stolen from you. There are people at GE who think we shouldn't be anywhere near this company. Shouldn't be anywhere near you or Ms. Sterling. Isaiah's expression doesn't change. What do you think? I think people can change. I think technology doesn't care about politics or history or family legacies. And I think this reactor could transform the entire energy industry. He extends his hand. General Electric is prepared to offer a partnership agreement. $2 billion over 5 years in exchange for exclusive licensing rights to the Phoenix technology for power generation applications. $2 billion. Victoria feels dizzy. This is more money than Apex was worth at its peak. More than her father made in his entire career. But it's not the money that makes her hands shake. It's the validation. The proof that Maya's dream can survive, can flourish, can change the world exactly the way she hoped. We'll need to discuss terms. Isaiah's voice is steady, professional. Of course. Hartley's grip is firm. But Dr. Brooks, don't make us regret this. There won't be a second chance. I don't need a second chance. I just need people to see what Maya saw 20 years ago. The GE team leaves an hour later. Contracts to be drafted, lawyers to be consulted, the machinery of a $2 billion deal starting to turn. Isaiah stands in the parking lot, alone with his truck. Victoria approaches quietly, not sure if this is a private moment, not sure if she should be here. Isaiah. He turns, his eyes glisten. First time she's seen that. First time the composure has cracked enough to show what's underneath. She'd be proud of you. Victoria's voice is soft. Maya, she'd be proud of what you built, what you've protected. Would she? Isaiah looks at the truck. I spent 20 years angry, 20 years planning, 20 years waiting for the moment I could prove the world wrong. That's not what she wanted. She wanted... He stops, takes a breath. She wanted the work to matter more than the revenge. She wanted the future to matter more than the past. Victoria stands beside him, both of them looking at the rusted F-150. at the vessel that carried a revolution through 2 decades of darkness. The future matters now. That's what the GE deal means. That's what all of this means. Isaiah pulls out his keys, the ring with the original reactor key, worn smooth by 23 years of use. There's something I need to tell you about why I really came back, why I spent 6 years mopping floors in the building your father owned. Victoria's stomach tightens. What? I wasn't planning revenge, I was planning proof. I needed access to the server systems, to the patent archives, to the evidence of what your father did. He meets her eyes. I could have gone public years ago, could have shouted about the theft, about the injustice, but Maya taught me something. She said, Isaiah, truth without evidence is just noise. Build the proof first, then build the future. You were gathering evidence for 6 years. Every memo, every file, every piece of documentation I could access, uploading it to secure servers. Making sure that when the time came, I could prove what happened. Not just claim it, prove it. Victoria feels something shift, a piece clicking into place. That's why you let me fire you. You were ready. You had everything you needed. I had everything Maya needed. The evidence, the funding, the platform to show the world what we built together. Isaiah looks back at the truck. I spent 20 years being angry at your father, but Maya didn't die asking me to destroy him. She died asking me to finish what we started, to make sure the work survived. He turns back to Victoria. You're part of that now, part of finishing what she started. And that matters more than revenge ever could. 14 months pass like seasons changing. The GE partnership transforms Phoenix Power from a warehouse operation into something that can't be ignored. 40 engineers, state-of-the-art equipment, production facilities in 3 states. Isaiah and Victoria work side by side, professional, focused, building something that's bigger than both of them. No romance. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Some things matter more than love. Some partnerships are about something deeper. On a Thursday afternoon in October, Amara Brooks walks into Phoenix Power after school. 17 years old now, her mother's intelligence in her eyes. Her father's quiet strength in the way she moves. She's never known her mother. Born 2 weeks before Maya died, raised by a single father who worked 3 jobs to keep them fed, to keep them moving forward, to keep the promise he made in a cemetery while holding a 16-day-old baby. Victoria is at the main workbench when Amara enters, looks up, sees the girl who's been abstract until now, a name, a reason Isaiah keeps working, a reminder of what was lost. Now she's real. You must be Amara. Ms. Sterling. Amara's voice is careful, polite, the voice of someone who's been taught to be cautious around people with power. Victoria, please. She sets down her tools. Your father talks about you constantly, says you're going to MIT next year. If I get in, you'll get in. Your father showed me your research proposal on next-generation energy storage. It's brilliant. Something shifts in Amara's expression. Surprise, maybe. She's not used to adults taking her seriously. Can I see the reactor, the one my mom designed? Victoria gestures toward the far corner, where the prototype sits, refined now, perfect, ready for production. Amara walks over slowly, like approaching something sacred. She touches the cooling system, runs her fingers over components her mother designed before Amara was born. Dad told me she believed technology should serve people, not control them, not exploit them, serve them. She was right. A sound from the doorway. Both of them turn. Sophie Sterling stands at the entrance, 15 years old now. Victoria's daughter, the child who grew up in penthouses and private schools, who watched her mother become someone different, someone better. Mom, She stops, sees Amara. "Oh, sorry, I didn't know you had someone here. Sophie, this is Amara Brooks, Isaiah's daughter. Amara, this is my daughter, Sophie." The two girls look at each other, sizing up, calculating. 17 and 15, different worlds, different histories, different futures converging in a workshop in southwest Detroit. "You're the one whose mom invented this." Sophie gestures at the reactor. "Yeah, she died before I was born." "That sucks." "Yeah." Silence. The kind that could go either way, could become awkward, could become something else. "You want to see how it works?" Amara's voice is tentative. "The cooling system is actually the most interesting part. Most people focus on the energy loop, but the cooling is what makes sustained operation possible." Sophie steps closer. "I don't really understand this stuff. Not like you probably do." "That's okay. I can explain it." Victoria watches her daughter, who's spent 15 years being polite and distant and carefully contained, lean in as Amara explains the physics. Watches Sophie actually listening, actually caring. "See this gauge? It measures thermal variance in the primary loop. If it goes above this line, the whole system shuts down automatically. My mom designed it that way. She said technology should be safe even when people are stupid." Sophie laughs. "My mom used to just sign checks and yell at people." Victoria flinches. Sophie notices, softens. But she's different now. She's trying to be someone worth being. Amara looks at Victoria, really looks at her, seeing past the CEO, past the sterling name, seeing the woman who spent 42 days in a storage unit learning to build instead of take. "My dad says you gave up everything to do this, your company, your money, everything." "I gave up what I was. Maybe that's not the same thing." The two girls exchange a look, some kind of understanding passing between them that adults can't quite access. "Cool." Sophie grins. "Guess this makes us almost sisters." "Almost sisters? Well, our parents work together all the time. We're here all the time. We might as well be related." Amara smiles. First real smile Victoria has seen. The kind that transforms a careful face into something young and hopeful. "I always wanted a sister." "Same. Someone to blame when things go missing." They laugh. Teenage laughter that echoes through the workshop, making the space feel less like a laboratory and more like a home. Isaiah appears from the back office. Stops. Sees his daughter laughing with Victoria's daughter. Sees them bent over the reactor together. Sees the future taking shape in ways he didn't plan but maybe needed. His eyes meet Victoria's across the room. No words needed, just understanding. That some things matter more than the past, more than revenge, more than justice. Family matters, building matters, the future matters. 3 months later, Isaiah and Victoria sit in the Phoenix Power conference room at 11 at night. Nervous in a way neither has been since their first press conferences. Amara and Sophie are downstairs, supposedly doing homework, probably talking about boys or college or whatever 17 and 15-year-olds talk about when they think adults aren't listening. "We should just tell them." Victoria's voice is uncertain. "They're smart. They'll understand." "Will they?" Isaiah looks at the notes he's prepared, the speech he's practiced. "Amara's never seen me with anyone except her mother's memory. This is different, strange, unexpected." "Yeah." They sit in silence. Two people who've built a $2 billion company together, who've faced down corporate espionage and federal investigations and media scrutiny, terrified of two teenage girls. "What would Maya say?" Victoria asks quietly. Isaiah closes his eyes, thinks about his wife, about the last conversation they had in that hospital room. Amara, 16 days old in the nursery. Maya's hand in his. too weak to hold on but trying anyway. Don't let grief kill you, Isaiah. Don't spend your life being angry. Find joy, find love, find a reason to keep living that isn't just revenge. He opens his eyes. She'd tell me to stop being scared, that the girls are smarter than we are, that they probably already know. You think they know? Let's find out. They go downstairs. Amara and Sophie look up from their laptops, exchange another one of those looks. We need to talk to you both. Isaiah's voice is steady, professional. The voice of a man about to deliver a technical presentation, not a life-changing announcement. About? Amara's eyebrow raises. About us. Victoria gestures between herself and Isaiah. About how we've been, how our relationship has. You're together. Sophie says it like it's obvious. We know. Isaiah blinks. You know. Dad, you smile now. You laugh. You haven't done that since I was 5 years old. Amara's voice is gentle. I haven't heard you laugh since before I can remember. Sophie nods, and Mom looks at you like you matter more than stock prices, which for her is basically a miracle. The two girls are grinning, clearly enjoying this. How long have you known? Victoria asks. 3 months, since we met. Amara shrugs. It's kind of obvious. And you're okay with this? Amara stands, walks over to her father, puts her hand on his shoulder. Dad, Mom told you not to let grief kill you. Remember, you told me that story 100 times. She made you promise that if you ever found someone who made you feel alive again, you'd let yourself be happy. Her eyes are wet. I think Mom would have liked Victoria, not who she was, but who she's becoming. Sophie crosses to her mother, hugs her tight. I've been so angry at you for so long. Angry that you were never there. Angry that you cared more about the company than about me. Angry that I had to find out what kind of person Grandpa was from the newspaper. She pulls back, looks Victoria in the eyes. But then I watched you change. I watched you give up everything because you wanted to be better. I watched you work in a storage unit until your hands bled. I watched you apologize to the whole world for something you didn't even do. Tears running down her face now. That's not nothing, Mom. That's everything. That's the kind of person I want to be someday. The kind who can admit they were wrong and actually change. She looks at Isaiah. And if he makes you happy, if being with him makes you more like the person you're becoming and less like the person you were, then I'm happy too. Amara crosses to Sophie. They stand together, united front. So yeah, Amara grins. We've known. We approve. Can we go back to our homework now? Isaiah looks at Victoria. Victoria looks at Isaiah. Both of them blinking back tears. Guess this makes us sisters for real. Sophie bumps Amara's shoulder. Guess so. Someone to help me gang up on the parents. They walk back to their laptops, leaving the adults standing there, stunned, humbled, grateful. Isaiah reaches for Victoria's hand. She takes it. And for the first time in 20 years, he feels something other than grief when he thinks about the future. He feels hope. The wedding happens at City Hall on a Tuesday afternoon. No grand ceremony, no corporate spectacle, just a simple civil service with Montgomery Reed in his wheelchair as witness. The old man who carried guilt for 20 years and finally found a way to set it down. Isaiah wears a dark suit, same one he wore to Maya's funeral 20 years ago. It still fits, barely. Victoria wears a simple dress, blue, not white. She's not starting fresh. She's continuing, building on what came before. Amara and Sophie stand as joint maids of honor, wearing matching dresses they picked out together during 3 hours of shopping that bonded them more than any conversation could have. The ceremony takes 12 minutes. The vows are short, honest, no poetry, no grand promises, just truth. Maya taught me that broken things can be repaired. You showed me how. I promise to build something with you that honors what she started. Victoria. I can't undo my father's sins, but I can spend every day becoming worthy of your trust. I promise to be better tomorrow than I was today, every day for the rest of my life. The judge pronounces them married. Isaiah doesn't cry, just takes Victoria's hand, firm grip, steady, kisses her gently. Not passion, partnership, not romance, respect. The kiss of two people who've been through fire together and came out forged into something stronger. Amara and Sophie cheer. Montgomery wipes his eyes with a handkerchief older than both girls combined. They walk out of City Hall into Detroit's sunshine. The F-150 is parked at the curb, decorated with flowers, white ribbons, the kind of thing you do for weddings even when the bride and groom arrived separately and will leave separately because they both have work to finish. Isaiah opens the passenger door for Victoria. She climbs in, sits in the seat where Maya sat 20 years ago, where she made Isaiah promise not to let them win. He starts the engine. That sound, perfect, pure, alive. They drive through Detroit, past Apex Energy headquarters. The building is dark now, empty, foreclosure signs in the windows, the empire built on theft collapsing under the weight of its own sins. Past the cemetery where Maya is buried, fresh flowers on her grave. Isaiah brings them every Sunday, has for 20 years, will for 20 more, past Phoenix Power, where 40 engineers are working on the future, where $2 billion is being transformed into technology that will change the world. To the site of the new power plant, former auto manufacturing facility, abandoned for 30 years, symbol of everything Detroit lost. Now it's being rebuilt, transformed, made into something new. The sign at the entrance reads Maya J. Brooks Clean Energy Center, opening spring 2026. Victoria and Isaiah stand at the fence, looking at the construction, at the future taking shape in steel and concrete and the stubborn belief that waste can become wealth. She would have liked this. Victoria's voice is quiet. Yeah, she would have. They stand in silence. Two people who started as enemies, who became partners, who became something more than either of them expected. Behind them, Amara and Sophie are laughing about something. Planning mischief, probably, the way sisters do. In front of them, the power plant rises, getting closer to completion every day. Above them, the sky is the color of hope. And for the first time in 20 years, Isaiah Brooks allows himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, the universe gave him what he needed. Not when he wanted it, not how he expected it, but exactly when he was ready to receive it. The opening ceremony happens on a Thursday in April, 3 years after that innovation showcase. 3 years after Victoria mocked a rusted truck and learned what real value looks like. 5,000 people gather at the Maya J. Brooks Clean Energy Center. Senators, governor, secretary of energy, engineers from a dozen countries, journalists from every major outlet, and in the front row, Amara and Sophie. 19 and 17 now. Amara finishing her freshman year at MIT. Sophie about to start this fall, both already planning the Gen 3 reactor they'll build together. Isaiah stands at the podium, 57 years old, gray in his beard now, the gold band on one hand, Maya's original reactor key on a chain around his neck. The speech is short, 90 seconds, no wasted words. 23 years ago, my wife Maya and I started working on an impossible dream. We wanted to create energy from nothing, to capture what would otherwise be lost, to prove that the universe gives us what we need if we're wise enough to accept it. He pauses, looks at the building behind him. Maya died before seeing this moment. She died believing that powerful people had won, that her life's work would be buried, that justice was something other people got to have. His voice doesn't break, stays steady. She was wrong. Her work survived, because truth survives, because good ideas survive, because sometimes, not always, but sometimes doing the right thing actually matters. He looks at Victoria, standing beside him, partner, wife. The woman who proved that change is possible. This plant will power 100,000 homes, zero emissions, virtually zero cost, clean energy for everyone who needs it. He gestures to the building. It carries my wife's name. Every watt of power that comes from here honors her genius. Every family that has light because of this technology proves that she was right. That service matters more than profit, that building matters more than taking, that the future matters more than the past. 5,000 people stand. Applause that sounds like thunder. Isaiah doesn't smile, doesn't wave, doesn't perform, just stands there, composed, the way Maya taught him, the way he stood for 23 years. Amara and Sophie run up to the stage, hug him, both talking at once about MIT, about the reactor designs they're already working on, about the future they're going to build. Isaiah holds his daughter, the baby he held while throwing dirt on his wife's casket, the child who grew up never knowing her mother but carrying her genius anyway. "You did it, Dad." Amara's crying now. Happy tears. "You kept your promise. Everyone knows Mom's name." "We did it. All of us. Your mom, me, Victoria, you, everyone who believed the work mattered more than the revenge." Victoria approaches, takes his hand. The cameras capture it. This moment, this family, built from tragedy and transformation and the stubborn refusal to let the past define the future. The ceremony continues. Ribbon cutting, tours, technical demonstrations. But Isaiah slips away after an hour, walks to the parking lot, to the F-150, the truck that carried a revolution for 23 years, that survived mockery and theft in 2 decades of being invisible. Tomorrow it goes to the Smithsonian, permanent exhibit, symbol of what happens when genius meets determination, meets the simple, stubborn belief that good ideas don't die just because powerful people try to kill them. Isaiah sits in the driver's seat one last time, puts his hands on the steering wheel, closes his eyes. "We did it, Maya. Took 23 years, but we did it." He can almost feel her hand on his, almost hear her voice. "I never doubted you, Isaiah. Not for a second." He sits there for 10 minutes, saying goodbye to the truck, to the years of invisibility, to the anger and grief and weight he's been carrying. When he opens his eyes, Victoria is standing at the passenger door. He unlocks it. She climbs in. They sit together in silence, in the truck that changed everything, that proved waste can become wealth, that loss can become gain, that even the worst version of ourselves doesn't have to be the final version. "You ready?" Victoria asks. "For what? The future, the rest of it, whatever comes next." Isaiah looks at her, this woman who was his enemy, who became his partner, who proved that people can change if they're willing to do the work. "Yeah, I'm ready." They get out of the truck, walk back to the ceremony hand in hand. Behind them, the F-150 sits in afternoon light, rust and tarp and memory. Tomorrow it becomes history, but today, right now, in this moment, it's still theirs, still carrying the dream Maya dreamed 23 years ago, still proving that some revolutions start with a whisper, that some victories taste like hope instead of revenge. That family matters more than justice. That building matters more than destroying. That the future, always the future, matters more than the past. That evening after the crowds disperse, Isaiah drives alone, not in the F-150. That truck belongs to history now, to the museum curators who will arrive tomorrow with their white gloves and their careful hands. He drives a newer model, still a Ford, still practical, but different, because everything is different now. He drives to the cemetery. Maya's grave sits beneath an oak tree. The stone is simple, black granite. Her name, her dates, and beneath that the words Isaiah chose 20 years ago. Maya Jennifer Brooks, 1975-2005, nuclear physicist, inventor, dreamer. Some revolutions start with a whisper. Fresh flowers are already there. He brings them every Sunday. But today there are more. Flowers from people he doesn't know. Cards from families whose homes are powered by Maya's dream. Letters from students who learned her name today for the first time. Isaiah sits on the grass, pulls out the original reactor key, the one that's been in his pocket for 23 years, worn smooth, heavy with memory. He sets it on the headstone. I kept my promise, Maya. Everyone knows your name now. The wind picks up, carries the scent of spring, of new things growing. He hears footsteps. Victoria appears, sits beside him, doesn't speak, just sits. Then Amara and Sophie arrive, sit on the other side, all four of them, the family that shouldn't exist, that exists anyway. Isaiah puts one hand on the headstone, the other reaches for Victoria. She would have liked you, he says. All of you. They sit in silence as the sun sets over Detroit. The camera pulls back. Up, shows the cemetery, the city beyond, the power plant in the distance. Lights coming on as evening falls, 100,000 homes receiving power, all because one woman believed waste could become wealth, all because one man refused to let her light go out. The silhouettes remain, a family, holding hands in the growing darkness. And on the headstone, the reactor key catches the last rays of sunlight, glinting like a promise kept, like a future earned, like proof that even in a world where the powerful take and the powerless lose, sometimes, not always, but sometimes the good guys win, not through revenge, through persistence, through building something that matters, through refusing to let go. The screen fades to black. Slowly, then text appears. The Phoenix reactor now powers 3 million homes in 14 countries. Maya J. Brooks's name is on every unit. Dr. Rebecca Caldwell became chief engineer at Phoenix Power. The cooling system innovations in Gen 2 reactors bear her signature. Montgomery Reed passed away 6 months after the Maya Brooks Center opened. His entire estate was donated to scholarships for underrepresented students in STEM. Silas Thorne was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. Apex Energy dissolved 18 months later. The building was purchased by Phoenix Power and converted to affordable housing. Amara Brooks and Sophie Sterling graduated from MIT with PhDs in nuclear engineering. They founded Brooks Sterling Advanced Energy in 2029. Isaiah Brooks continues to visit Maya's grave every Sunday. He brings fresh flowers, and he tells her about their daughter, about the future they're building, about the light that never went out. A final image appears, the original reactor key, resting on Maya's headstone, sunset glinting off worn metal. Behind it, slightly out of focus, 4 silhouettes holding hands.